Hey everyone. Well, we're waiting on both Lala and Meisha to arrive, and in the meantime, I will attempt to entertain you. Oh, I need a haircut. Uh, so Meisha Johnson is an interesting experiencer, and she is full of surprises, including whether or not she'll show up. No, I know she will. She's got the link. It's probably a time zone miscalculation. But anyway, we will get there and get through it and entertain. So tomorrow we've got Big Homie on, and Big Homie is looking forward to it. We want to ask him lots of questions, especially about his being an experiencer and his unusual ability. I noticed early on in interacting with Big Homie in X Spaces that he had a photographic memory. And then we heard about his experiences, and he's this big time celebrity security guard and helper and so forth. So it should be interesting. Have you heard from Meisha?
Oh, okay, scoot over. Tiny bit. Thank you.
There you go. Well, tell everybody what you've been doing.
Well, I took a nap.
Balloons.
No, I added on to my face painting business. I added on balloon decorating, and so I've been blowing up a shit ton of balloons, which I enjoy. By the way,
She does it for hours, and I love it when she's in the bedroom with this gigantic pump. And I'm over there snoring, and she's going, blowing up these balloons all night.
it's fun. Hey, listen, if anybody wants to make an income, go on Thumbtack and, get verified. You can make money. And, if you're a stay-at-home mom, you can do it on weekends or whatever.
Well, you have to buy some equipment and some balloons.
Yeah.
Other than that.
It's not that much.
No, it's not, but never mind. It's
anyway.
You have to go through it all, and then you get there.
Yeah. So I have a 50th anniversary. I just did a graduation, big ass balloon wall. That was 600 balloons or more. So that was, but it was fun. And I have a bridal shower coming up. But anyway, I want to do.
Let me share.
Hold on. I want to do a Paragon balloon arch, people. Okay, thank you. I'm putting it out in the universe. Okay.
Now, where did I put this?
Anyway, paranormal wise, just well, that's not the paranormal.
Yeah, keep going.
A fox has been showing up and looking in the door.
That's been paranormal, believe you me.
Nights at 3 a.m. And what's weird is that our puppy dog, who never growls, only once did she growl, and it was of a spirit. She growls even before she sees it. She starts growling, so that's a little eerie. But just orbs showing up, fun orbs. That's all, really. But I haven't really been looking too much. So, do you want to go to the chat? I didn't link it
yet. What are you talking about?
I'm talking.
Oh, there she is. Okay, she just got here.
The chat here.
Hey.
Hello.
One second. Hi, I'm sorry. I was in for about 15 minutes and I forgot to get in the studio.
I was late too. You're fine, really. You're fine.
Everybody, this is Meisha Johnson. She's a very well-known experiencer. We do a couple of events a year with her, typically Dave Scott's Spaced Out Radio Party and Lorian Fenton's UFO Con. And so this last time, Meisha and I got to talk quite a bit at UFO Con, where we had a really interesting show. It was amazing. So look, Meisha, a lot of people won't know you. So you've had a lifelong set of experiences. Describe what it's been like to be an experiencer, psychic, etc., growing up like you did.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep it kind of out of the MK Ultra. I'm going to just share my experiences, unless you want me to
No,
go on.
no. Share my labs, MK Ultra, all of it. Share it
Oh,
all.
okay, all right. I wasn't sure. All right. Well, so born into a ET experience life. I've had experiences since I was 3 years old, and I was going to see if it was all right for me to share my screen
Yeah,
and show
yeah.
some pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hope I can do it. The last time I was on ScreenYard with somebody was a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't do it. So
Or just click on present and then go find whatever it is you want. Is it a web? Is it a tab on your browser or a picture?
there's a tab on my browser.
Okay, so you click on present, then you click on share screen.
Yeah.
Then on share screen, you'll see several things, including you click share screen, and then you'll see on the left side the tabs. Click on the correct tab, and it'll show up over here, and I'll put it up.
Sharing was best. Okay, I'm going to see if my Chrome it'll pick it up on my Chrome.
Yep.
No, see, that's what I've had last time. It's
not.
not.
We can put it on.
Yeah, if you'll send it through Messenger, we'll put it up if that's possible.
Okay. All right. I'll do that. It's going to be hard to talk and do this at the same time.
Yeah, take your time. We're no rush.
All right.
Relax.
So, but I do want to share the first one.
You should send a group word back.
So, yeah, I'm so used to working on Zoom. This just doesn't work for me at all for some crazy reason. I don't know. When I say share screen, it says allow StreamYard to see your screen. And when I say StreamYard, entire screen, maybe that'll work. Okay, allow. Okay.
All right, there you go.
Whoops. Okay. So it's showing everything now, huh? All right. Well, whoops. Let's see if I can get to where I need to get.
We'll get there. Don't worry.
Can you see that?
Yes, maximize it.
Oh. Okay. So my first experience was my sister and I were roommates, and I used to get in bed with her, and well, actually, we slept in the same bed. So I used to, climb under the covers with her when we'd hear this little squeaky noise. It was like what would be likened to little mice making squeaky noises, and but we knew it was something else, and I did too. And so one day when she went in the early morning after she'd left for school, I heard it again, and it was daylight, kind of daylight. And so I thought, I'm going to go see. And she was about 10 years older than me, so she had gone to school a little bit earlier, and I went and followed the noise, and I went underneath the staircase, and it was bright enough to see what they look like, and what they look like. So they were little furry guys with little brown eyes and little furry faces, and they had what I had considered smiley faces on them, and they became my invisible friends. So for a long, long time, I was the only one to see them. I was the only one that went levitating up over the roofs of the neighborhood, and so they were my little friends. And when I grew up, let's see if I can, so when I grew up and saw Star Wars, I went, oh my God, that's my little friends. That's my little friend. And I called them BG's the Bears. Don't know what the Bears. So as I grew up, I continued on with my experiences with many different kinds of other experiences. And then when about 4 years old, I had experiences with two different types at the same time. And I'll show you the willowy one, which is this taller one, but with a smaller kind of head. But then I had these that would stand at my window. And if you squint your eyes, this picture here can kind of look like a deer. And I thought they were deers. And I said, the baby deers are here. It's time to go. Now, this has been seen by many, many people. A lot of kids even talk about their invisible friends being little bears. They talk about them being little deers and owls and the different things like that. So this is a really common way that they show themselves. Now, I don't believe it's not a matter of shapeshifting. It's a matter of them having you see what they want you to see. They look in your mind and go, what is non-threatening to this child? Well, a little fuzzy bear is going to be non-threatening, and so is little baby deers. And so I thought these were little baby deers. So I would be taken throughout my life, and often I would be taken to times where I was in a ship. So can you see me or just the screen?
I see you.
You can see both.
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. So I would be taken on board a ship, and the ship was very, very, very bright. This particular ship that I remember was very big, and there were other kids there, and we were all sitting at some kind of desk type of thing, kind of lined up. And for me, there was different things on this holographic screen, shall we say, that was right in front of me. There was also the full layer of, let's say, in a round area of holographic screens. And sometimes when those screens were down, we could see out into space. So we were definitely being out into space. And this I would call was a school. And they would be teaching us. Now, I know that as a hybrid, I do believe that a lot of it is a hybrid's learning what it is to be extraterrestrial and using our abilities, so that we can bring it back to Earth to show people what it is to use your abilities that you really are born with, but you have the amnesia, so you forget them. So I would have, now this is the one that would take me on those trips. This is the willowy one. Come on over here. Come on. There, the willowy one. Oh, okay. Where is the willowy one? I don't see the willowy one. Well, I will have to show you it through this way then. The willowy one. Okay. So this is my PowerPoint that I do in conference speaking, when I speak at conferences. So the willowy one was the one that would take me there. The willowy one also was the one that took me into the hybrid program as well. But in this specific time when we were on the ships, they would teach us how to use our telepathy. They would teach us how to use psychometry. They would teach us, we had devices that we needed to do things like bring things up a level and stuff up a level with our minds till it got to as far as up as we could get it. So it's kind of like a little ball. It was a game that we thought, of course. They made them seem like games. And then they also had communications in our head telepathically and communicated with us. We communicated with them telepathically. Then we also had galactic light language spoken to us. Many languages. In fact, I should say I'm not sure about the rest of them because I couldn't hear what was going on with them. So this is what was going on with me. So they would speak many galactic light languages. And when they did, sometimes I could see imagery, but most of the time I just heard the sounds. And I guess I learned galactic light language from them. And so, of course, when I grew up, as I got older, in my family happened to be a religion that was the Pentecostal religion, speaking in tongues. So it was pretty normal for us to do that until I told them who I was speaking with, which is that was a mistake. So I would be speaking galactic language, and throughout my whole childhood, it was not a problem. When I became a teenager, I was to the youth fellowships, and we'd go and we'd have these little campouts and stuff, and we'd do the galactic language. And one day after I came back from that, the pastor was asking, actually the pastor and the deacons were asking to edify, what they call it, edify, what I was galactically saying. And they said, we cannot tell this language. We cannot tell this is ancient language, or we cannot tell it. And they asked me, where does it come from? I pointed up in space, and I said, my friends up in space, my friends up in the stars, star people. And they said, blasphemy. Okay, so that was I was now they threw me on the altar to get rid of my demons and stuff like that. So in my mind, I figured, oh, this is bad, this is negative. So I stopped doing it until some 10 years ago when they contacted me again when I was ready. I mean, I was contacted a long time before that. Back in 1990, I contacted me while I was already well into the UFO field. I ran UFO Contact Center International, which is a international basis community, but I was doing it in Nevada, in Las Vegas, Nevada. And so I would bring in speakers to talk, and I was just the MC. I was very introverted my whole entire life. My childhood, I was introverted a lot of times because if I dared to speak about the ETs, I was beat up. I was bullied because I did something different, Anytime you have any questions, please ask them.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you one question. Polly wants to know, do you remember a praying mantis during the hybridization program? And if you do, what was her task?
Okay, I don't remember it during I did not see a mantis during that time. I saw a mantis in my lab experiences. So what you might call praying mantis was my willowy one. It was the one that did all of the, it was in charge of the hybrid program. So I didn't see a mantis there. Some people do. I did not. But I did not see the mantis until I saw it 2 times. Once when I was in the secret space program where a mantis was being attacked. It's a long story, so I don't want to jump ahead. So I will talk about that.
Okay. I'll come back to it if you like.
Mm-hmm. So, but I'm sorry I don't have mantis within the hybrid. They could have been there. They could have been the ones in the back that I couldn't see, because remember, when you're in an experience, you're only able to see what's very close around you. So most of the times, the only one I could see was and in fact, I'll tell you about an experience that will really help with that. All right. So I was 16. I had just got my moon cycle. I was picked up in the middle of the night in my bed. I went to bed and woke up, and I was standing underneath this big, huge ship. I could look up with my eyes, not really on my head, but look up enough that I could see that it was what I would consider probably round, because I could only see part of it. I saw light, not really lights, but the energy coming from it as well. I felt energy coming from behind me, and it felt very massive and big. And then I was put back to sleep. The next thing I remember, I wake up, I'm on this chair-like thing, and these little grays, now these are like the little deers that I told you about. They're moving around and doing gynecological things to me, which is like really freaking me out. And then the woolly one leans over and looks in my head and says, "Do not be afraid. This is necessary for the hybrid program." That same night, I could see and feel energy, and I was trying to see what it was. Though the three grays and the woolly one were clear, but everything else was blurry. And even farther back than that, I saw three much larger figures than willowy one. They were in what I would consider hoods. And I immediately recognized the energy, and I said, "I know you. I know you. Who are you?" And one of them stepped forward, dropped his hood, and it was a reptilian. And then, well, that freaked me out, of course, and I think I passed out again. But that one came back to me later on in life, which I'll go into a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah, question.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. So the next part of my life, well, this actually is the drawing of that terrible drawing of that experience. So this is what I saw. They first showed up in far distance, and then I saw two of them, but one dropped his hood, and that was back in 1966. So then again, I'm not a good artist, and then now I'm grown up, and I'm still seeing the willowy one. Now, the times I'm seeing the willowy one is when I am taken on board the ships. And let me see if I can bring that forward. By the way, that's the one I saw. I got to go past all this because I'm not going to go into that for right now. Oh, why am I? You know what? I'm gonna skip out of that because I'm not gonna go into that right now. So whoops. So I grew up and started having different kinds of experience. Now it's called the MyLab program, and in the MyLab program, you are re-abducted after an experience, and especially if you're in the hybrid program, you're definitely re-abducted. I'm not going to say everybody's going to be re-abducted, but you're pretty much going to be re-abducted and taken to different places. I was taken into deep underground military bases. This is what I saw. I saw men in uniforms standing at attention. Another type of tall gray, but it was more of a beige gray, took me in there. There were these other types of shorter grays that were doing something here, and then the wall would open up and they'd go in. And so I had many experiences going into deep underground bases, into the military bases. And I do believe that they have their own hybrid program, without a doubt, for a few reasons. The shadow government have it to making clones for maybe whatever they want to do with these clones, future wars or whatever. But then the others want to know what it is that is special about us. What is it? Including the grays, they want to know about our souls. They want to know what is it special about us that the ETs want, that the galactics are interested in. What are our abilities? So they will MyLab stands for Military Laboratory Abduction and Military Abduction. So the laboratory abduction would take us into all kinds of different testing to see what our abilities were. Now, this is what they did in my era. In the eras after that and the generations after that, they brought it into the school system, and they had the GATES program, and now it's called the GATES program, but there were other programs. There were different programs that they got kids into and tricked their parents into, so that these kids would go and to these special classes to find out their abilities. So they didn't have to abduct them anymore, you see.
Let me tell you that I got lucky. They came, wanted me to go to a place called Indian Springs School, which they took gifted kids from all over the place, and you went to this weird school. And my mother said, hell no.
Indian Springs, Nevada?
No, Indian Springs in Alabama.
Oh, in Alabama. Oh, because Indian Springs in Nevada has the same thing going on.
Oh.
Yes.
And my mom said, hell no.
Well, good for her. Good for her. And I've heard of a lot of people who have been spared that. But many, many, many of the starseeds and hybrids, because starseeds and hybrids are very similar. I will say that hybrids have hybrid genetics, and they're brought into this, they incarnate into this planet specifically to assist and raise the consciousness, to help to do their missions. Some of them are here to raise the consciousness of people and groups and that, and to do missions, like I'm doing my mission, you're doing your missions. The star seeds are also incarnated in, but they also have genetic genes as well. But many of them are here to make a frequency energy difference and raise the consciousness with their frequency, with their energy. A lot of the Gen Zs and the millennials are part of these groups. That's my understanding. That's in my research. That's what I found out, in my belief. Other people may have other thoughts on it, but that's what I feel. So,
I have a question real quick.
Yes.
Why do you think some of us have implants in our body? And do you think they're for different reasons or just in general, why do you think?
Okay. Well, they used to need to have trackers within their star seeds and hybrids, because they did not, I don't think they thought that we could be able to simulate the frequency, but somehow or other, later on, I do believe that it started so that you didn't need to have an implant. So implants, some of the implants were made and there's understand too, there's different galactics here, connecting with different star seeds. So it's not all the Greys, it's not all the reptilians, it's not all the Pleiadians, it's not all the Sirians. It's many different groups: Lyrans, Arcturians, Procyon, Andromedans. There's so many different groups that are involved in the whole raising of the consciousness. Partly because the raising of the consciousness in this planet is almost a simulation to what is happening all over the universe and the other universes too. Because when we lift and raise our consciousness, when we release and cleanse and clear and cut the cords and release the contracts and release from all of our souls' lives that are going on simultaneously, which are out there, then we are transforming our souls out there as well. We are releasing and clearing and cleansing the traumas and things that are in our parallel lives. So I believe this is some huge experiment that the results would be helping this civilization move into the fifth dimension so that we can have our new earth that we're waiting for.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
I agree, by the way.
Well, thank you. It's good to know. I because this is my own learning and teaching that they've taught me, and I do trust my galactics, but at the same time, I will go into situations where I have been, tortured and trauma. I have MK Ultra and things like that, which maybe this might be the right time to go into it. I first will go into a couple more underground my lab experiences to help you understand some things about me, and then I'll kind of to that. Is that all right?
I'll be right back. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. I hate looking at that picture. It's so poorly drawn. So let's go to the hybrids as well. We'll go to the hybrid too. So, so along with the MyLab hybrids, we have the galactic hybrids, and there are many different hybrid programs that I was part of. I was part of what I consider the willowy one, which would have been, to me, I feel that the willy one was the Zeta Reticuli. The Zeta Reticuli are one of the planets in the Orion system. Some of those in the Orion system went over to the Alpha Draconians and some did not. This particular group that I believe that was visiting me, because they explained a process of what happened to them, is that they were a civilization of humans much like us. They started getting way too much into the artificial intelligence, using the artificial intelligence wrong. There was always a organic artificial intelligence that was in the cosmos, but they started using the technological AI. And they had many, many wars. And so their civilization basically broke in half. And the ones stayed on top and the others went into the inner earth. When they went into the inner earth, after generations and generations, they got smaller in build. Their heads got bigger because their brains got bigger. Their eyes had to adjust to the darkness and the catacombs, and they, learned how, or not learned how, they not learned how, they evolved with some kind of, maybe they evolved with these on their eyes, these black covers on their eyes that are organic, or they made them. We don't know how that happened, but they ended up being able to see in the darkness. They also couldn't have childbirth anymore because the heads got too big and the women could not, and the women were dying, so they had to start doing in vitro, but then in vitro led to cloning, and they cloned themselves out of existence, which has happened to many other planets, have cloned themselves out of existence, thinking that was the expedient thing to do, and that was healthier for everybody, and it was easier on the women, and all of that. So that was the group that would be coming to visit me, and they took me to the different hybrid programs. I also had Pleiadians. Also, I had a hybrid program with them, and I also, within these programs, and I only saw the willowy one in this respect, I also had reptilian genetics. So anyway, so that's what this one is. This is a little reptilian. This is genetics that were introduced either into my eggs or into me during gestation or whatever it was for the reptilian aspect. So I will tell you that Pleiadians and reptilians are working together now. Pleiadians and grays are working, different types of grays. They look like grays, but they're not grays. Some more Zeta Reticuli are working together. Is
that a good thing, or
what's that?
Is that a good thing for the reptilians and Pleiadians? Because I thought they were total opposite.
Not really, no. Many of the women in my groups also feel that they see reptilian groups with the Pleiadians. Well, I'll tell you, Pleiadians and reptilians really started to living in the same star system. The Lyran star system has a history of how it was attacked by the Alpha Draconians and the negative Orion Greys. And they came and attacked, and they had 6 planets, and they were destroyed 2 of those planets, and all the people had to evacuate from them, which, by the way, were some reptilians, planarians, who that be going to Pleiades. Uh, Syrians were also part of those 4 groups that were being attacked. Well, they were all being attacked, but the queen, the Vegan queen, said, if you stop attacking after thousands of years of wars, if you stop attacking, stop trying to take all of our planets, and leave me the Vega and Lyra, I will give you the other 4. You've already destroyed 2 of them. You can have the other 2. Well, the other 2 had these water planets, which ended up going to Sirius to be the Syrians, the Procyons, to be the Lyrans and the Syrians, to be Dalcedians, who are Pleiadians, Syrians, reptilians. Syrians have reptilians. So really, reptilians have been living among us for a long time. Not draconians, but reptilians. There's a huge difference. And that's what I really want to explain to people. People think that there is, that's why this book that I did, well, I did it because to do galactic readings, because to show people that there are so many different types of ETs out there.
Yeah.
Not just Pleiadians, Greys, and reptilians. There's many different types of reptilians. So I wanted to go into that before I went into the underground bases, because in the underground bases, I met 4 different reptilian species. So I will be telling you about that.
So how do you recognize as quickly as you do a MyLabs experience from a different one?
From MyLabs different from by the energy and the people's experience. If the people are talking about excitement in the hybrid program, excitement and maybe a little bit of trepidation, but they're not terrified and in fear, to me, those and having ET experiences, and they're just they never harm me. I don't think it hurt me. It was kind of weird and it was creepy and stuff like that. That's how I tell a difference. If somebody's coming in from this total fear, and I should say also that sometimes is false evidence appearing real by the dark side, because they want you to think that all ETs are bad. All ETs are negative and scary and stuff like that. So many of the negative ET experiences people have been from the MyLab program. There are the Greys that are working, the Ebens that are working, the Entrecloids or whatever they call them, that are working with our government, and the Draconians that are working with our government, the Reptoids that are working with our government, the Raptors that are working with our government. So unfortunately, we have a large amount of shadow government with a large amount of different ETs, and those are some of the ones I mentioned. So I'll just tell you a couple of really lovely experiences. So the first experience I had with my hybrid program was I was taken into it was like kind of dark halls. It took a while to get to any place that was light. And then I was handed this little baby in my hands, and it was so tiny, its little legs kind of flopped over my, and it had this very large head, and the skin was kind of a yellowish color like this, about this kind of color, maybe quite not as green, but more yellowish. And I immediately, but did have some gray, but it was not what I would consider a gray. I immediately bonded with it, and then the Willowin, the female willowy one, I should call it, the female Willowin standing in front of me said telepathically, this is a success. And she showed me other people being given babies. Some of them backed off and went away. I have a big thunderstorm going on, so hopefully I don't get knocked off. Another man dropped the baby. Other people just said, oh, no, it's horrible. No, So they were very happy that I bonded with it. And then, so they knew I was a success for the hybrid program. And so I was shown many other hybrid children, a little girl that had beautiful blonde hair and big aquamarine eyes and kind of a very pointed chin, but still quite human. I had another little boy that I was shown, and this little guy that I hear. Now, these kids are very skinny and scrawny, I will tell you that. I was taken into to the nursery once, and there were all these kids around, and there were some older kids too, and they were very, very scrawny. The older kids were just skin and bones, and I asked them, what's wrong with the ones that are older? And they said, unfortunately, they're not thriving. We have to introduce more genetics. We cannot have just the grays and the human genetics. It doesn't work. So, or the zeta reticula and the grays zeta reticula, I should say. So they are not thriving, and many of them will not survive. So then another time I was brought into the nursery where there were little children, just little ones in that time, and they kind of, one was walking through and he was a little different color than the rest of them. Now the others had, some of them had kind of blue skin, some had almost rose color skin, some had dark brown skin, some had light skin, and this one had green skin, and he was stockier than the other ones. He looked a bit different. And I said, well, who's the father? And they said, Ayano. You call him Ayano. And the all. And the all, they told me, was many different genetics to go into the genetic program in order to make these children thrive. I also asked, where did these children go? Not specifically at this time, but I did ask later. Where did these children go? And they said, they go to the many civilizations that have cloned themselves out of existence, are cloning themselves out of existence. And many of the civilizations that need a new, fresh start. And so that's what I believe my hybrid program that I was involved in was for. And then, of course, there was the underground one as well. So this happens to be Ayano that came into my life later. He was what they'd said his genetics were used, and the different other all type as well. He was brought into my life to protect me from the MyLab, because I was having tremendous amount of MyLab abductions and being taken to underground bases. So I'll just, well, I can't seem to get back to myself. If I get back to myself, I'll probably lose my picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to another picture. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my most recent book that I wrote, You Can Handle the Truth, an MK Ultra Monarchs can talk, an MK Ultra Monarch survivor's story. So and this went on from childhood. So I'm going to go back to my childhood, and I did show you my picture as a child. It started at about the same age. My father was born into an MK Ultra family. He was part of the Rosicrucians mystical, alchemical, mystical magic group. And he was mind controlled himself. And from a very young age, they started mind controlling him and his brother. And that was his half brother, I should say. And he was, well, why don't I do this now? So my father was born into an MK Ultra family. And so he in fact, the only picture I saw of him, two pictures. I saw one picture of him with uh, when he was growing up with his brother, and then I saw another picture of him by himself, um, with long ringlets and wearing a dress. So I know there was some crazy stuff going on there. He was a magician. He was a magician. His brother was part of Krishna Venta, the fountain of the in San Fernando Valley, which was a cult. I do believe that both of them were part of the CIA programs of mind control. And his brother ended up being a cult leader who had people give away everything. And he thought he proclaimed that he was um, Christ in reincarnated. And he was, yeah, so he absolutely was a strange character. In fact, Charles Manson patterned himself after my uncle, Krishna Venta. And even though my uncle never killed anybody, but he had several wives and things like that. So it was very strange. It was just it was a CIA plot to see if people could be controlled by a religious leader that would be a cult leader that could control them and have them give away all of their money, which they did in order to join that. So, yeah. So anyway, my father went another route. He was a magician and he was a hypnotist, and he would hypnotize me. And long story short, besides being a hypnotist, he was also a minister, oddly enough. And this goes into my book very, very deeply. But just to let you know, it started at 3 years old. My father was my handler. He also was my torturer. And he had to start the torture. And he told me while he was torturing me that greater torture you have to learn how to leave your body. And so he would teach me and he would hypnotize me to leave my body when torture would happen. And he did that. It could be the only thing he could do to save me as far as he was concerned. Because
did he ever call it dissociation, or did he just call it leaving the body?
Leaving the body.
Yeah, but what you were actually doing was dissociating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then my grandma, I don't have a picture of her. That's good. She lived out at Asylum Lane, which is where the asylum was in Blackfoot, Idaho. And I would be taken out there when the kids were at school. I'd be taken out there daily to visit grandma, but I would be taken to the asylum for my training and for my MK Ultra programming and the torture-based mind control that continued on with me throughout my whole life. And
so do you notice during the torture that your psi abilities increased?
Oh my, yes. One of the tortures was they locked you into boxes with bugs and things and awful things, and I learned how to climb out of my box in my mind, and I thought I was like fooling them. I thought, oh, well, see, I'm out of there, and I'm roaming around, and I'm looking at the other boxes and the other here and there. Everybody the kids screaming and stuff like that. And I said, oh, I'm not screaming. I'm out of the box. But what my father had taught me was to go out of my body so I didn't have to have the pain. But also that's what they were doing, was disassociating. So I never could really figure it out. Did I really fool them, or was I really doing what they wanted me to do? I don't know.
Well, while you're out of it,
mm-hmm.
They can program your body to be a super soldier or whatever. Yeah.
Which is what they did later, as I realized what they did. Because then I was viewing myself from out of my body as myself, as a child, doing things that I would never do. Like, first they started with stuffed animals, and then they ended up with real animals, killing them and things like that. So they did. That's when Darlene was born. And Darlene was my first altar. She was born when I was in 52, when I was 3 years old. And then the other altars were born along the way. And I had, I always forget how many. I think it's 82, 83 altars that I've integrated now. But now the thing of it is, you have a base of 6, 7, 8, whatever it is, altars. Mm-hmm. I had a base of like probably 8 altars. And once you integrate those 8 altars, the other ones will fall into place, because the other altars are what we call, somebody in my group gave me this name, and I really like it. It's called floating altars. And I really like Andrea's floating altars.
So I was going to ask, so now you have synthesized them into one personality.
Well, into 8 different personalities. But okay, within those altars, let's say you've got one altar. 9 second. Maybe I have an altar trying to bug me. I don't know. That's weird. Okay. My eyes fluttering here. So you have altars who need to be spies. You have altars who need to be soldiers. You have altars that need to be give aneurysms, do psychic things. So what they do is they will train. They will make your altar go out. You'll have so you'll split maybe in 3 or 6 different ways, 3 to 10 different ways, and in these altars, one will be taught how to teach. How to shoot a gun. One will be taught how to do ninja fighting. One will be taught how to use a knife. One will be taught how to cause aneurysms. One will be taught how to do the different things. So within all those altars, you've got all these splinter altars, these floating altars that just there to learn how to do the technology that they need you to do, or the weaponry that they need you to do. And so once you, let's say, take Darlene was there for all of the pain and the anguish. So whenever they wanted to get a spy or somebody who would take the torture, the rape, and the different things, they would bring her in, because she was in charge of all the rest, and she kept the secrets. So you got one altar that really keeps the secrets and is in charge of all the rest and knows who they are. And let's say your brain is compartmentalized in little rooms, and in each one of those rooms is an altar of little. At that time, I was called Marsha. As little Marsha. So we have Darlene and Sophia and Doreen and many other names, that are in there. And I really shouldn't be saying names, because sometimes they use these names over and over again. So I don't want to trigger anybody. So if you're triggered by any of this, please leave. Okay, leave for this part of it. So that's they compartmentalize the brain so that they can have the child have all these different altars on a command with one word. I had a phrase that was two phrases that I actually learned about, and one was it's a bright sunny day. Another one was a bright sunny day in Oz, and another one was this is not going to bring you any happiness. Oh my God. So those are all some triggers that happened with me, and plus I'm sure more. There were sounds. In fact, I was twice taken out of my life by. Once was okay. So now I'm an adult, all right. Not an adult. I'm 17 years old. I've graduated school. I go to college, to the college ISU, to check and see about the colleges. Now I'm poor and I'm not going to be able to go to the colleges, but I've got friends who are going to the colleges, and I just would really want to go to college, and I want to go and see if there's any way I can get a scholarship or anything. So I go, and a man comes up to us in the cafeteria and says, who would like to make lots of money? You can make $430. And, in 67, that was a lot of money to a teenager. So I said, yes, I do. And he's, here you go. Meet me at this address tomorrow morning, bright and early. And you'll be in a sleep study, a dream study, not sleep, a sleep study that maps your dreams. So I went there, and there were doctors there, so in lab coats. So I said, wow, this is a good, safe place. It's all right. So I go and I get hooked up and I go to sleep. And it's called the driving program. In Canada, Dr. Cameron started this driving program in his psychiatric hospital back in the 50s, and turned it on over to the CIA, FBI, and all of that. Maybe not the FBI, but the CIA turned it over to the CIA for use and study and such as that. So he sold it, I should say, to them. So it's called the driving program. They put you to sleep for days, weeks, months. They put things in your head to take things out. They do more of the dissociation and all of that. And so I had a full 8-month period. I remembered absolutely nothing until I woke up in a bus on my way back home with a last name that wasn't mine. And what it was they got me married in that time to somebody who was my handler. And it's a long story short. It goes into in my book. You can get all the details, but that was a missing marriage that I don't even remember what the man looked like.
Wow. That's amazing.
But I do have this to prove. Where is it? There.
It's like huge, right?
My marriage certificate. There's my marriage.
Holy shit.
So I had that missing period for 8 months, and when I woke up, I called my parents when I got back on the bus, and I asked them what happened. They said, well, you've been gone ever since you got married. And I said, got married? So then they told me the whole story of the marriage, and Darlene was in charge, and Darlene can be a real bitch. And she was really bad to them and told them, I don't want you to walk me down the aisle. I have my own wedding dress. And it was just everything. And so years later, when I was in hypnosis and therapy, I found out that my therapist asked me why I hadn't remembered my wedding. And Darlene came through, and she says she was asleep like she's supposed to be, because it wasn't her wedding, it was mine.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so that's the driving program, and that started in Canada with Dr. Can't remember his first name, but Cameron is his name. So then I got back to my life, trying to get back to my life, and then a year later, the phone rang, and I thought I heard a fax machine, but later on in hypnosis, I found out what it was. It was a sound, a tone that they put on there. And then he said, go to Bob's Big Boy and meet him. So I did. I went to Bob's Big Boy, packed everything with me, or I should say Darlene or one of the other ones, packed everything and in my car and went to Bob's Big Boy and ended up in New York at the MIT. That was my next memory that I was recovered and come out. I didn't know why. I had, at the time, along the way, we had picked up some kids to go to the festival. Oh my goodness, the hippie festival. I have a blog.
Woodstock.
What's that?
Woodstock?
Yes, to Woodstock. And yet, when I woke up 8 months later, I was in San Francisco. So I couldn't understand why my cohort, which would have been Charlie was the handler's name, that he, and also the man I was married to. And so he took me to MIT. And when we went into the basement of MIT, there were many other women in there. They were all on chairs. They put chairs, they hooked me up. And in this one, they took us into a time travel situation where we were time traveling from Earth to, I don't know if it was another Earth or a parallel Earth, or it was the future of this Earth, because I kind of figure it was the future of this Earth, because what they wanted us to find out, if we, of course, first of all, could we open that portal? And then once we're in that, can we look and find the information about how a person can make lots of money, what stocks to buy, what companies to buy, what stars to get to be into, what Hollywood producers and directors, what music industry, and all of the different things, even down to sports and sports betting. They wanted us to find out all there was about, or me anyway, to find out all there was about these things and bring them back with my photographic memory to give to them. And that's how the rich get richer.
I believe
One
it.
of the ways I do believe that they do. So then I was taken into the beta program. Eyes Wide Shut movie is right on. That's probably why they killed him. The director, I can't think of his name
Yep.
now.
Kendrick? No.
No.
I know who you're talking
Stanley Kubrick.
about. Yeah, with Red.
Kubrick. Yes, because he died a week or so before it was supposed to be, finished and everything. So, yeah. So then I was put into this program. It's a long, tedious program with a lot of mind control, a lot of Bohemian Grove, Bohemian country club, and Bohemian meetings. In fact, I'll tell you, about 5 years ago, I was speaking at a conference in San Francisco, and a friend that lives there, I was talking, I said, I really want to see if I could figure out where I was. And she said, I'll drive you around. I said, okay. And I said, what I want to do is, let's just start here and I'll tell you where to go and see if I can remember. And so we did. And I said, turn here, go here, go here, go here. We ended up at Haight-Ashbury. And I went, yeah, I lived in one of these buildings. It was different looking then, but I lived here. I know I lived here. I walked these streets. Then I said, okay, so turn here, turn here, turn here, turn here. And I got this really icky feeling. I said, oh my God, I feel sick to my stomach, my head. And we were stopped at a light. And I said, this is why I'm so sick. And I looked up and it was the Bohemian office or organization, Bohemian organization. So I knew that was part of it. Also, I was in the San Francisco on a hill with a madam, and it was just some horrific stuff. We were part of the what you'd call the honeypots.
Yeah.
Midnight Climax, all of those things. We were part of those kinds of things. They might have had different names, but they were all for one thing. They were all to get the big shots in, to get them into bad situations, being taped and recorded like Diddy's did. Like Diddy did. Diddy was a perfect example of what they were doing. And what they've been doing for a long time. Hollywood's been doing that for a long, long time. But with this, they would then bribe these judges, lawyers, senators, congressmen, I saw different people there have different names. I put it in my book. And Scientology was also part of it. It was also part of the programming, part of the darkness. Rituals is a huge part of it. It solidifies the absolute fear, and the altars are absolutely terrified of it. I was taken into Hell Alley, where they do experiments. Those are the hybrid experiments that they do, where different aliens and animals and aliens and humans and things. So there was some really horrific things going on through there. So then this was in 1970. So I had another 8-month missing period of time, as you can see, once again. And this time I woke up in San Francisco and then tried to get on with my life. And one day after another. And then I came back to Idaho, and I went back again to California because I was drawn there. And again, I had more missing time. But I will tell you, and then I went back again to Idaho. This time I moved to Utah, and then in Utah I moved to Nevada. And so within this periods of times, all these things were happening. So you're trying to figure out what's going on. So from 1972, I went back and forth from California to Utah, Idaho, and then to Utah, and then to Nevada. And Nevada is when I finally realized what was really happening. And the My Lab experiences started happening in Las Vegas, and my kids were being abducted by ETs and by My Lab experiences, and so there was all kinds of things happening. So I asked my galactics, because we all have 3 guides are like here with us, that come with us and are here all the time. If you could touch them, you could reach out and touch them. They're there all the time. And so it was a galactic for me, an angelic, and definitely my counsel, and my counsel showed up often to me. But they sent me a protector. Now, these are the 2 types that in the My Lab experiences that I'm going to be talking about. So one day I'm abducted and I'm taken underground. I'm walking, and there's all these people in uniforms and in lab coats passing me, and they all look at me. But I know there is something beside me, and I know it's a reptilian by the smell of it and the energy of it. And I call it a reptoid, not a reptilian, a reptoid. And he looks a lot like this guy here on the left. And I say to him telepathically, because that's one of the big reasons they have me down there, is because, remember, I learned on board the ship how to interface with ETs. So I can communicate with him telepathically, and that's something they really want, because the shadow government can't do that. So I said to him, well, why don't they look at you? They look at me. They look at me all the time. But as we walk down this hallway, they're not looking at you. Why? And he sent back this very strong energy that was with anger and force. And he says, because they know better. They must honor us. And if they look at us, they will be punished. Basically, it's my image, my message I'm getting. Then I see a man in a uniform who is like being arrested and taken away because he looked in his direction. This is their level of the dumb, of the deep underground base. It's their level, and they are honored in that level. They are in control of that level. And then I was shown another picture of a man, an image of a man screaming like he's insane because he looked in his eyes. Better not look in their eyes. They're so hypnotic, they're psychic, they are really dangerous to look in their eyes. So Then later on, I believe it was this experience. It could have been another one. I can't remember if it was the same day or another day. But I am sitting in a room, and there is a reptilian standing there at the door. He looks a little bit more in this direction, with a longer snout, more raptor looking. And I said, "Why do you invade our planet? What did we do to you?" And he sends me back a message. You're not the invader. We're not the invaders. You are. We were here long before you. Then he sends me this imagery. Now he's a reptoid, or a raptor reptoid. Maybe you might call him a raptor reptoid. And he sends me this image of all these dinosaurs and prehistorics, and they're all running. They're running from all these comets that are coming down. And I'm shown that the comets are directed weaponry from somewhere out there in space, and they are sent from their enemy. And it is an extinction event to get rid of them. But he said, but those of us who were more intelligent and smaller went into the inner earth and have evolved to who you see before you. So, wow, that really gave me a lot to think about. Holy crap. So they've been around a long time, probably as long as we have, but they've been in the inner earth. And now, I guess, is what they're making their move. Maybe. I don't know. So, I also had an experience where a reptoid I was being interrogated by a lieutenant colonel, and he was asking me, where is the alien? What is the alien? And where is the alien? And I didn't know what he was talking about. And then he said, where is that reptile you know? And I knew that they had an underground base because I'd been to it before. I'd been on board the ship, and but I wanted to make sure I didn't give away. And I said, I don't know anything. What alien? What are you talking about? And then they brought in a reptilian. Well, first they gave me a liquid that they shoved down my throat that was like really thick and liquidy.
I read about that, actually, yeah. I read about people drinking this thick liquid, yeah.
Oh, you have? Oh, good. Oh, good to know.
Recently, I didn't know, especially children that went to the, whatever, during the school, what do you call it?
Yeah,
Anyway,
the
a lot of kids.
gate program.
Yeah, a lot of kids.
Okay, program. Oh, really? Oh, that's such good information. Thank you so much. I should talk less and have you talk more.
We need to do a part two. We need to have you come back and do a part two, because a lot of things you're saying, it's clicking in my head quite a bit,
Why don't you come back for part two?
I would love that.
Days.
Yeah, whenever. So we're over. We're a few minutes over. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and stop. But she's going to work with you to bring you back, because this is too big a story not to go through all of it.
You want to come back next week?
Let me just look
we
at
can talk about it.
Yeah, just wait till we get off air, and then we'll talk.
I probably can come back next week on a Tuesday. Tuesday, probably I can. I have to check, though. Is Tuesday the day you do it?
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I might, since it's only an hour show, I thought it was a 2 hour.
And many people are saying thank you for what, and you're very brave, and they admire you. So.
And do me a favor and hold up your book now that you are larger, so people can see your book.
Oh, okay. This book will be published. Recently, I was stopped from finishing it. Hang on a second. I was stopped from finishing it. Actually, they gave me cancer, so it's to stop me. But I will have it out by the end of the month. It will be at Amazon by the end of the month, and I will have it on my website. I do have it on the website right now for early, if people want to sign up for it. But it covers everything. It covers everything that I've talked about and much, much more.
Meisha, thank you so much for doing this. As always, it's good to see you and talk to you. And people, I'm sorry we can't go on, but we have another program coming up here.
Okay. Well,
And
thank you.
we'll bring Meisha back. We'll bring Meisha back, and she can tell more of the story, which we all need to hear.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.